Talking about weekend working this morning, with 24-hour shopping inevitably comes 24-hour working, but it means that some people have to be there and serve you during those antisocial hours and those weekend shifts. Workers at Asda and Wilko are resisting changes to the way we work. Tell us what's happening here, Danny.
Yeah, so Asda is offering higher wages in exchange for more flexible working. They say 100,000 workers will be better off from the changes, but do confirm people will be sacked if they don't sign contracts. Wilko's facing strikes by staff at distribution centres over brutal changes to its weekend rota. Wilko said the firm share workers' frustrations and are trying to reduce the number of weekend staff will work by recruiting more people. Last month, Asda workers protested outside the supermarket's Bradford head office.
Asda used to be like a proper family-orientated business. I've been there for like 20 years nearly, and now it's the app bothered. You're just a number, and if you don't want to do what they say, then there's the door. And by the 2nd of November, if we haven't signed that contract, that's where we'll be going through that door.
I will be leaving the company in November.
You'll leave, will you?
Yes, I'm not signing up to this. I've been with Asda for 13 years, and one of the reasons that I've stayed there is because the hours suit me. I'm not prepared to sign my life away.
And we've had so much response on this. Paul in Leeds says it's a new class divide. Those who are off Saturday and Sunday and demand a complete set of services for their leisure time, and those who have to be there to provide them. However, Anthony Ives on Twitter has said, Tosh, the NHS, fire service, boarding schools, etc. have always worked 7 days in the UK. I suppose we can let most of them rest and buy it online. But Jason in Doncaster said he works at a warehouse for a clothing retailer for 5 years. He said they change shifts from Monday to Friday mornings to afternoons and weekends. It was either change shift or be made redundant. No worth in a place like that. I lasted 5 months. Well, let's talk to Kate McCarthy, who runs Warrington-based Kate McCarthy Recruitment, which employs people in retail and hospitality jobs. Kate, is this now becoming commonplace? Do we have to expect to work evenings and weekends if we're in retail and leisure?
I think ultimately the consumer demands it. So if you're a business trying to offer what the consumer's asking for, yes, you really do need that flexibility from your workforce. I don't believe it's as new as brand new news today. I was in retail 20 years ago. There was an expectation that I worked Saturdays and Sundays. That's when you trade.
And it's frustrating for a lot of people who work in those industries, particularly when the likes of us say, hey, it's Friday, we made it to the end of the working week.
Yeah, I felt that frustration. And equally at Christmas and peak, when people are saying, oh, we finished for Christmas, and you're thinking, we've got to really trade this week hard. So, yeah, it is hard. But it also works to people's advantage. So, some families really enjoy that flexibility. They can split. People can have time off in the week.
Helps with childcare.
It really does.
The problem comes when you change a contract. So when someone's been used to working in a certain way, and now all of a sudden they're going to demand that, listen, you have to. If you want to work in this place, you're going to have to. So it's how you negotiate around that.
It is, and it's also balanced. So there are retailers out there that will say, I looked at some of the quotes last night, and they're demanding every weekend or not getting 2 days off together. I think that's unfair, and there is no balance there. If you're in a physical job like retail, distribution, hospitality, you need 2 days off together occasionally. And
you can't be expected to work every week.
No, I agree. And look, there are shift patterns. There are some retailers out there that will say, you work every weekend at some point, one weekend, a full weekend, then a Saturday, maybe a Sunday, and then you have a weekend off across a 4-week rota period. That's fair. It's also important, however, that the whole workforce is on one similar contract, and I think that's some of the problem with Wilko's, because there's a disparity there, so it's a bit unfair. Everyone needs to take their turn to work the weekend.
And how much more should you be compensated for working? Well, I know overnight, obviously, you will be. Yeah. I say obviously, I think most people are paid a higher rate overnight, aren't
they? But Asda are changing those terms as well, so they're now saying that night shifts are only between midnight and 5.
So you could work right up to midnight, and that.
Yeah, absolutely. But then I see the point from the tweet before. It's not just retail and hospitality. Shift work is normal. I think you've got to, if you're going into a business like retail or hospitality that's 7 days, 24 hours. You order on a company, you expect it the next day. The world is changing, and you've got to expect that. think if you've been there traditionally and that's not something you want, then probably it is right for you to leave, because that business isn't going to survive. We've seen so many businesses struggle in retail that haven't changed with the times, that haven't provided what the consumer needs. So I do.
But then we get people telling us places like France where they still have most shops closing on Sunday.
Yeah, but then we're not France, are we? We open.
Should we be? Should we be France?
Come on, I don't know.
I think this takes us back to an old argument.
I think it does, but ultimately we are 24/7 world. In the UK we demand things. We want to go out on a Sunday and enjoy ourselves. I think if the shops shut on a Sunday, there'd be more anarchy than there is about people working on a Sunday.
I don't think of anything worse than going to a shopping centre on a Sunday.
There's also an issue with the way that some of these contracts are implemented on the shop floor, because we've had a message in here which is talking about a well-known supermarket, and they said that they had to give their availability every week, and if they weren't available between 7 and 10, then they were told that they were at risk of redundancy.
Yeah, look, I think it's how you implement something. It's about, I know another high street food retailer that gives their rotas 4 weeks in advance in order that their employees can plan their lives. And so, look, it's about being a good employer as well. It's understanding what you need from a business and then making sure your employees are on that journey with you and that you work with them to make sure you can provide what you need. But without, I think that's a little bit dictatorial.
Thank you so much, Kate. Great to hear from you this morning.
Thanks, Kate. And interesting, Jason in Doncaster says just that his shifts were changed for a clothing retailer. It lasted 5 months.